The large hall was quiet. Every sound had stopped. Even the hum of the air vents felt distant. On one side of the room stood the human delegation calm, hopeful, trying their best to look formal in their crisp uniforms. Captain Jace Miller stood in front. He was young, confident, and a little nervous. On the other side were the Solari tall, pale, elegant aliens with long robes and silver markings on their skin. They moved like statues, cold, serious, and very proud. This was the first peace meeting between Earth and the Solari Empire. After 10 years of silence, both sides had agreed to try diplomacy. The moment was important. The Solari had strict traditions. Their culture was ancient. A greeting was not just a hello, it was sacred. Lena Valari, daughter of the Solari High Elder, stepped forward slowly. She had sharp violet eyes, long braided silver hair, and a calm, unreadable face. She walked to the center of the room, every step graceful, every movement practiced. Captain Jace Miller did the same. He smiled. She didn single quotes T. Behind them, the ambassadors watched closely. Hundreds of alien species were watching the event live from different corners of the galaxy. Everyone waited for the bow. It was simple. Jace had been trained. Bow exactly 30 degrees, hold. For 3 seconds, then step back. But when he reached Lena, something changed. She looked nervous just for a second. Her eyes shifted, almost like fear. Her hands were tight at her side. Jace saw it. She wasn't just a leader. She was young, maybe even scared. He remembered how he felt when he joined his first peace mission, how lost he was, how lonely space could be. And then, without thinking, he opened his arms and gently hugged her. Gasps filled the room. Someone dropped a datapad. A Solari guard moved forward, shocked. Even Lena froze. Her arms stiff, her body rigid. No one had ever hugged her before. Solari didn't touch, not like that. Especially not in public. And never in a sacred greeting. But Jace didn't know that. He just did what humans do. What feels right. He held her for only 3 seconds. But it felt like forever. When he stepped back, Lena didn't move. Her face was blank, but her eyes, they were wide. The silence in the room was heavy. Ambassador Kren, the Solari elder standing behind Lena, was turning pale blue, a clear sign of distress in their kind. He whispered, "This is an insult, a violation." Jace looked confused. He stepped back. I just wanted to welcome her." The human translator panicked. "Captain, you broke the protocol. We're not supposed to touch them." But Lena still hadn't spoken. She slowly lifted one hand and touched her shoulder, where Jace's arm had rested. It was like she was trying to understand the feeling. "What was that?" she finally asked, her voice soft, not angry. "Hug," Jace said honestly. "It means comfort, safety, friendship." Lena blinked. "Strange gesture," she said. Then something even stranger happened. Her lips twitched, almost like a smile. It was small, but real. Ambassador Kren stepped forward, his voice sharp. "Lena, you must speak against this action. It disrespects our ways." Lena turned to him, still calm. He didn't bow. "That is true. But he didn't attack. He didn't insult. He offered connection." "This is dangerous," Kren hissed. "Maybe," Lena said. "Or maybe it is different." The Galactic Council, watching from their screens around the stars, leaned closer. What had just happened? What did this mean? Humans had always been known for their emotions, messy, wild, unpredictable. But no one expected this. One simple hug, and everything changed. Lena stood, still in the center of the hall. The hug had ended. But something inside her hadn't. Her skin still tingled where the human's arms had touched her. Her chest felt tight, like something was trying to break free. But she didn't understand what it was. The Solari people were trained from childhood to hide emotion. Touch was rare. Affection was weakness. But that hug had felt warm, safe, alive. The hall remained quiet. Ambassador Kren stepped forward, voice like cold metal. "This event is over," he said sharply. "The human has violated sacred greeting law. We will return to our ship and file an official protest with the Galactic Council." Lena didn't move. She was still touching her shoulder, the same place Chase had hugged. "Lena," Kren said again, his voice louder now. "Come, this is not our way." But she finally turned. Not to him. She turned to Chase. "Why did you do that?" she asked quietly, her voice calm but serious. Chase looked nervous now. Cameras were still recording. Billions might be watching. "I saw fear in your eyes," he said softly. "And I remembered what it felt like to be scared. A hug. It helps, for us. I didn't mean to insult you." Lena tilted her head. Her eyes didn't show anger. They showed curiosity. "You saw fear?" she asked. Chase nodded. "No one has." "Ever noticed that?" she whispered. Kren interrupted again. "Enough!" returned now. "This conversation is not approved." But Lena raised a hand to silence him. That alone shocked the Solari guards. She looked around the room. "Do all humans do this? Touch strangers like this?" Chase chuckled awkwardly. "Sometimes, when words aren't enough." There was a pause, and then Lena did something no Solari had done in centuries. She took one step closer to the human. Not much. Just a small step. But the entire delegation behind her gasped. It meant something. She was choosing to remain. To speak. To understand. "Strange," Lena said again. "But not unpleasant." Kren looked like he was about to collapse. "This is madness," he hissed. "You're being emotionally compromised." "No," Lena replied calmly. "I'm remembering." Her words shook the air. Everyone stared. Jace frowned. "Remembering what?" She didn't answer. Not yet. Later, back on the Solari ship, the mood was tense. Kren paced the command chamber. "This is dangerous," he muttered. "She's been exposed. She's not fit to lead this mission anymore." "She was calm," one of the guards replied. "She made no emotional display, but she felt something. I saw it. And if the people find out—" He didn't finish. In her private chamber, Lena stood before a mirror. She removed her ceremonial robe slowly and looked at herself. She pressed her palm to her chest. Her heart was racing. She sat down. Then, quietly, she opened a drawer. Inside was something old, hidden for years. A small data crystal. She placed it into the wall unit. A soft humming sound filled the room. A projection appeared. A memory file. A woman, Solari with gentle eyes, and a soft voice spoke into the camera. "To my daughter Lena. I wish I could tell you, but our kind do not allow such things. You were just a baby when I last held you. If you ever find this, know that your mother loved you. I hope, someday, someone hugs you like I did. Just once." Lena blinked hard. Her breath caught in her throat. So it wasn't her imagination. She had felt this before long ago. The memory of warmth. The comfort. The hug. And now the human had brought it back. Back on the human ship, Chase sat in the debrief room. His commander was furious. "You broke contact protocol." "I know," Chase said quietly. "You're lucky the Solari didn't arrest you. That could have started a war. She looked like she needed someone. That's all." The commander sighed. "Well, you've started something. The whole galaxy is watching now. And Lena, she didn't report you." Jace looked out the window at the stars. "She's different," he said. "Different how?" Jace smiled. "She didn't push me away." The Solari ship drifted silently in orbit, above the diplomatic station. Inside her private room, Lena Valeri sat on the floor. The lights were dim. The projection of her mother, now paused, still hovered above her. Her mother's soft words echoed. In her mind, I hope someday someone hugs you like I did. Just once. She whispered, It happened, Mother. She placed her hand gently on the projection. Her fingers passed through the light, but her eyes stayed fixed. Lena had always been told her mother died when she was very young. The official record said she was taken by disease, but no one ever spoke of her much. In Solari society, emotions were erased. Touch was discouraged. Children were raised by the state, not by parents. And yet, Lena remembered warmth, a distant memory, a soft hum, a warm body wrapped around her, a heartbeat not her own. That memory had always been locked away. Like a dream she was not allowed to dream. But now it was open, because of him, because of a human. Lena stood slowly and walked to the wide viewing window. Stars blinked softly outside. She placed her hand against the cold glass. Behind her, the door slid open. Ambassador Kren entered without asking. You missed the strategy call, he said sharply. Lena didn't turn. I was remembering. That is dangerous, he replied. Emotions weaken your authority. The people expect clarity, not confusion. She looked over her shoulder, her voice calm. They expect silence, control, obedience, but not clarity. Kren narrowed his eyes. You've been infected. Lena actually laughed softly. Infected? With what? A hug? It's more than that, he said darkly. This human, Jace, he has damaged your composure. He must be removed from future meetings. No, she said. Kren stepped closer. You will speak against him at tomorrow's council. You will call his gesture disrespectful and humiliating. We will demand a formal apology. Lena turned fully now, her voice colder. And if I don't? Kren's face hardened. Then the council will see you as compromised, emotionally unstable. They will remove you from your position. You may even be returned to the archives. Returned. That word echoed in her ears. Returned to training. Reconditioned. Brain cleansed. All memory of her mother and the hug would be erased. Just like before. She looked down at her hand. She could still feel the warmth of Jace's arms. The moment was small, but it had changed her. I will think about it, she said flatly. Kren stared for a long moment, then left without another word. Later that night, Lena couldn't sleep. She sat at her desk, replaying the hug over and over in her mind. Not just the action, but what it meant. For humans, touch was simple, normal, natural. For her people, it was forbidden. But was that strength or fear? She opened a new data file. Her fingers hovered above the console. Then she began typing, Report, Human Behavior Unauthorized Contact. But what came next surprised even her. Subject-initiated physical gesture known as hug. At first, it appeared primitive, but the effect was unexpected. The warmth lingered. The gesture was not aggression, but connection. It reminded me of a dream or a memory, one I thought I had lost. She stopped writing, then she deleted the last line, not because it wasn't true, but because she wasn't ready to admit it to others. Not yet. On the human side of the station, Jace was staring at the ceiling in his bunk. He kept replaying the moment too. Why had he hugged her? Why had it felt so natural? And more than that, why hadn't she pushed him away? He had expected anger or confusion, but instead she had stared at him like no one else ever had. As if she understood something. His comm unit beeped. A message. Peered. Captain Miller, you are requested for a secondary briefing tomorrow at 0900. New developments expected. Remain prepared. Command. Jace sighed. New developments, he muttered. Yeah, that's one way to put it. He didn't know that on the other side of the station, an alien girl with silver hair was also wide awake. And for the first time in her life, she didn't feel alone. The council chamber on the Solari homeworld was filled with silence and tension. 3 elders sat in high-backed chairs made from glowing crystal. Their faces showed no emotion, but their hands were tight on the armrests. The recording of the hug had played 3 times already. Each time, the same moment. Captain Jace Miller stepping forward and hugging Lena Valeri. Elder Thalos finally spoke. This action is unacceptable. Another nodded. He broke the ancient ways. Lena did not correct him. The third, Elder Sira, leaned forward. She even paused, as if she liked it. The word liked echoed through the hall like thunder. On the diplomatic station, Lena stood in front of the mirror again. This time she wore a new outfit, less formal, more free. Her eyes had changed. There was something alive in them now. Something soft and sharp at the same time. She walked toward the main chamber for the day's joint. Announcement. 2 sides would speak Solari, and human. The room was full of news drones, reporters, diplomats, and security from both worlds. Captain Jace stood at his podium already. He looked calm, but his eyes followed Lena as she entered. He gave a small nod. She paused, then returned it. Just a simple nod, but to her, it was everything. Before the speeches could begin, the door at the far end slammed open. A tall Solari warrior entered, followed by 5 armed guards. General Turan. He was commander of the Solari Outer Defense Forces. Cold, ruthless, loyal to the old ways. He ignored the humans, walked straight to the podium beside Lena's, and spoke loudly. This meeting is canceled, he said. The audience murmured. Cameras zoomed in. This human insulted our future leader. This hug, he almost spat the word, is not a gesture of peace. It is a trick, a test, a sign of weakness. We must not answer it with smiles. Lena stepped forward. General, your presence was not requested. My presence is required, he replied. You've forgotten your duty, Lena. You've let emotions blind your judgment. You've let a human touch you. Jace's fists clenched. But Lena did not flinch. I remember my duty, she said calmly. It is to build peace, not walls. Turan slammed a document on the table. This is an official order from the High Council. Unless the human apologizes and agrees to ceremonial punishment, the peace treaty is broken. Gasps filled the room. Jace stepped up. Punishment? For hugging someone? Turan stared at him. For crossing a line? For touching a sacred vessel of Solari tradition. Lena's voice rose stronger now. I am not a vessel. I am a person. Turan's eyes narrowed. You sound like them. She looked him in the eye. Maybe that's not such a bad thing. The room went completely silent. That night, in a dark room deep in the station, Turan spoke with a shadowed figure over encrypted comms. She must be removed, he said. She's dangerous now. Unpredictable. She's just a girl, the voice replied. No, she's a symbol, and symbols are powerful. Turan looked toward a flashing red screen. The council won't act. So I will. I will stop her myself. Meanwhile, in the human sector of the station, Jace was called into another emergency meeting. Captain, said Commander Raylan, the Solari General may try to force action. We believe Lena is no longer safe. She's their own ambassador, Jace replied. She stood up for us. Exactly why they'll come after her, Raylan said. If she falls, so does the treaty. We need to protect her. Jace nodded. But inside, his thoughts were somewhere else. She didn't reject me. She didn't fear me. She remembered something. He clenched his jaw. She changed, and they're afraid of that. Lena sat alone in her quarters, watching the stars. She had made her choice. She had spoken. She had stood up for herself, for change, for something new. But now, danger was coming. She knew it in her bones. Still, she whispered one sentence aloud. If one hug can shake an empire, then maybe it needed to be shaken. The attack came just before dawn. Lena was asleep in her quarters when the walls shook. A sharp alarm rang, red lights flashing. She jumped to her feet. Her personal guard lay unconscious. Gas poured in under the door, silent, colorless. Assassination. Attempt. She covered her mouth and ran to the emergency panel. It didn't respond. Locked. Her eyes widened. Toran. He's really doing it. From the hallway, heavy footsteps approached, but before the door opened, boom. The wall beside her exploded outward. Metal flew. Smoke filled the room. Two shapes stepped in, humans in black armor. Earth Special Forces. Ambassador Valari? One asked. She nodded, coughing. Yes, Captain Miller sent us. He said you'd need help. Meanwhile, Captain J stood in the human command center, fists clenched. She's under attack, he shouted. You said she'd be protected. Commander Raylan looked grim. We sent a team. We'll extract her. But Jace, this isn't a mission anymore. This is a war starting in slow motion. Jace slammed his hand on the table. Then let's make sure she survives long enough to stop it. On the Solari side of the station, Toran stood in front of the council, completely calm. She's gone rogue, he said. She escaped with human help. This proves her betrayal. Elder Thalos frowned. She is the daughter of the High Elder. Toran's voice remained like ice. She is no longer Solari. Lena was rushed through secret corridors. Alarms echoed through the station. The human soldiers led her toward Docking Bay 12. But then, ambush. One soldier shouted, "Say LAR." Shock troopers burst from the shadows. Bright blue energy beams flew across the hall. Lena ducked behind a crate. One soldier went down. The others returned fire. And in the chaos, a hand grabbed her arm. She turned, ready to fight. But it was him. JACE. She stared at him, surprised. You came yourself? He smiled. You still think I'd send others to save you and not show up myself? She blinked and smiled. Your timing is imperfect. Blame. The traffic. They ran side by side through fire and smoke. When they reached the shuttle, Lena stopped suddenly. Jace looked at her. What's wrong? She turned to face him. This isn't just about me now, she said. This is about what I represent. Jace frowned. We'll get you safe. Then we speak to the council. No. She stepped onto a raised platform, turned on the comm unit, and went live to the Galaxy. Broadcast. Unfiltered. Unapproved. Every planet. Every ship. Every news feed. Say LAR. Human. Alien. All watching. She stood tall. She spoke clearly. My name is Lena Valari. I am of the Solari Empire. And I was nearly killed today, not by humans, but by my own people. Why? Because I accepted a hug. Because I remembered something they told me to forget: emotion, connection, love. The Solari Council wants silence, but I choose to speak. The general says I'm broken, but I say I'm awake, and I stand with those who reminded me that warmth is not weakness. I stand with humanity. The galaxy froze. Across systems, millions stared at her image standing beside a human soldier. Tears ran down her cheek, but she didn't hide them. She let the whole universe see. In the Solari Council chamber, Ambassador Kren whispered, She's done it. She's crossed the line. Elder Sira said nothing, but for the first time, she smiled. General Turan watched the screen, his hands shaking. "She will burn for this," he growled. On Earth, in cities and schools and embassies, people cheered. Across the stars, young Solari girls touched their shoulders, wondering what a hug felt like. And aboard the shuttle, Jace stood beside her, stunned. "That was brave," he said. Lina turned to him. "You gave me the courage." Then, for the second time, she hugged him. But this time, it was her choice. Asterisk the galaxy had never seen anything like it. One girl, one hug, one message broadcast across 10,000 systems. And now, nothing would ever be the same. On the Solari homeworld, protests filled the city squares, something unheard of in their history. Young Solari held up signs with just one word: feel. Children asked their teachers, "Why can't we hug?" Mothers wept. Fathers remembered old songs long buried. The council tried to stay silent, but silence no longer worked. Because Lina had spoken. Because Lina had changed something. The Human Alliance sent a formal message to the Solari, not with threats, not with weapons, but with a gift. A statue. It showed a human and a Solari standing equal, arms open in peace. At the bottom, one line was engraved. It began with a hug. General Turan tried to rally his forces, but his power was broken. Many Solari commanders refused his orders. Some defected. Some stepped down. He vanished into exile. His era was over. Lina now lived aboard the Harmony Ark, a neutral ship where humans and Solari worked together. She had been named the first joint ambassador between their species. And everywhere she went, children would run to her, not to bow, not to kneel, but to hug her. At first, it made her nervous, but over time, she embraced it. Jace still served in the diplomatic corps. They worked together often, always walking side by side. Rumors said they were close, but no one asked. They didn't need to. Their smiles spoke more than any words. 1 year after that day, a great ceremony was held on the Galactic Council Station. Over 300 alien species attended. The main hall was filled with light, music, and something new: laughter. At the center, a large golden plaque was unveiled. Lina and Jace stood beside it. The high speaker stepped forward and addressed the crowd. "Today, we mark the beginning of a new era. One where walls fall and hearts open. One where we remember that peace does not always begin with treaties, but sometimes with something smaller." He turned to Lina. "Something human." The crowd clapped softly, and Lina stepped to the microphone. She looked out across the galaxy's greatest leaders. She paused, took a breath, then said, "I was born in a world without touch, a world that told me feelings made us weak. But I learned something different, that to feel is not weakness, it is strength. That a hug can carry truth when words fail. That the smallest gesture can open the largest doors." She turned to Jace. "I still remember the moment you hugged me. It confused me. It frightened me. But most of all, it woke me up." Then she reached out right there, in front of the galaxy, and hugged him again. One gasped. No one stopped her. They clapped. And slowly, one by one, beings of all shapes and colors across the chamber began to hug. Not all perfectly. Some were awkward. Some just placed hands gently on shoulders. But it was real. And the moment became history. Asterisk.